We don't have a quorum, so there's no need to call it to order. We can't approve the agenda or anything like that, so we'll go in and slide right on into the next page, Miss Sally. No public comment?
No public comment.
Okay, so introductions, Victoria Hoffman with Solid Waste and Recycling.
Sally Cloud, Solid Waste Recycling.
Bradley Herrick, Typo Works.
Mark Feinberg, Unincorporated District 9 Representative.
Brian Durrance, District 1 Representative ex officio.
Awesome, thank you. Alrighty, so we can go right into my report. The last meeting, I mentioned that we did create vision, mission, and goals for the Solid Waste and Recycling Department. And here they are. All the departments under the Public Works Division were asked to do this, just big picture items. And so this is what we created, and then based off our goals, that is what we aim towards achieving each year. Any questions about those? Alrighty.
Pretty straightforward.
And then apologies if it's small, you all received a packet. I'll use mine so that it's easier for me to see. This is our Q2. Let me get to where I need to be. Our Q2 report. Some of the figures on the next pages, I was still waiting on data. But this is kind of where we are. We are comparing it to fiscal year 24, and we're halfway through fiscal year 25. So as you can see, right on budget, a little bit over for disposal costs, but considering we had a major storm event this year, and then also including our population growth, it is explained through those two scenarios as to why we have a bit more in cost for disposal. And then you can see kind of where it's gotten an uptick this year. Any questions about this? Okay, so on to the next page. This is our convenience center traffic. So we track through tube counts how many people are entering our centers based off each center, and you can see the asterisks. That's just indicating that we had tube counters down throughout some of those months. So sometimes they break, we have to repair them, and so we may or may not be getting the precise numbers there. And you can see from Q2 in fiscal year 24, we had a bit less of residents using the centers. That could be either the tube counters being down. Originally, when we issued the decal program, we saw a big decrease in those using the centers. That has since steadied out with the population increase. So we can go ahead to the next page if you don't have any questions about that. And this is our disposal broken into the 3 classes of waste, and then we're comparing what we're receiving at the convenience centers and then what we're receiving curbside. And the curbside data is dependent upon those haulers submitting reports in a timely manner. I believe I had most of the reports for Q2. There may be a couple of discrepancies I may not have received. I think Town of Bluffton looked a little lower, or maybe it was City of Beaufort. One of the municipalities, we were still waiting on a month of the report, but when I originally created this, their timeline had not lapsed yet. So we give them until the 15th of the month to submit their monthly report. And when this was queued up for you, so we could show it to you sooner rather than later, because the next time we meet is March, and it's going to be closer to Q3 being ended, I wanted to get you the figures as soon as possible. So as you can see, based off the centers, obviously curbside, we receive a lot more of our municipal solid waste, which is basically your household trash, and then the centers see a lot more of the C&D waste and the yard waste. And we think that yard waste increase is due to the storm event that we saw this year.
Question,
Yes, sir.
Class 2 C and D waste,
Mm-hmm.
that is what exactly?
Construction and demolition.
So we're seeing the centers receive, I guess curbside, they probably don't pick up much in that,
Yeah.
that sense. Is that contractors or household, or is that a combination?
So contractors are not allowed to use our centers. That's why one of the reasons we issued the decal program.
Right.
So if they're using our centers, it should not be a contractor. That should only be residential, commercial, and demolition waste. So if
And you
you're
said-
renovating your bathroom or anything like that, you're able to bring C and D waste. And C and D waste, we label it as construction and demolition debris because it doesn't need to go to the Hickory Hill landfill. It can go to Oakwood, so it's less of a tipping fee whenever it may not have hazardous waste or create leachate. So the C and D waste is your woody waste, based off your like lumber, or if you have, I don't know, shingles,
Old
tiles.
toilets, toilets.
Yeah, exactly.
No, don't get me wrong, we still have contractors that don't have, not advertised, and they still slip in our convenience centers.
Yeah,
They'll try to talk to them and stop them, but they'll pull right in there and dump them. We still fight that. It's not a huge problem, but it is a problem.
Yeah, we do our best to deter them.
I go twice a week and I see what's probably commercial, unsigned commercial trucks and vans unloading. I mean,
Yeah,
it's a
We
difficult
have-
problem, I would assume.
absolutely. We have signs up. We have
Yeah.
implemented the decal program. The center attendants, we don't encourage them to engage with individuals. If they tell them, you have to turn around, you're a contractor, but we don't expect them to fight or argue. That's not their job to do. We are working with code enforcement and looking into ways that we can kind of make sure those codes are enforced, but it definitely is difficult with the amount of
Understand.
centers
I
that
mean,
we
it's
have.
hard to distinguish between a homeowner's
Exactly.
refuse and a
Exactly.
commercial single guy and his helper.
Exactly. And that's what you
Especially if
hear.
it's
If
in
you
a
have a
pickup
decal and it's
truck.
like, no, this is from my house. So exactly, yeah, it is just a he said, she said type of scenario. But we did get a lot of decrease with the decal program being initiated to deter the contractors.
So is that typical? I mean, you show 2.5 times as much going to the centers as curbside for class 2 waste. Is this a typical number?
Yeah, so curbside waste, that would most likely be a special pickup. So whenever you have curbside, I'm not sure if you take your materials to the center, but I have curbside waste, and if I had large debris like that, I would have to contact my hauler and request for them to have a special pickup if it were debris such as that. Or what we really do is load it in my husband's truck and take it to the center. So that's probably why you get the uptick at the centers, just because it's a bit easier than,
Gotcha.
laying it on the curb and having your provider pick it up. All right, moving on. My favorite part, recycling. This is separated out by convenience centers. So we do only currently accept recycling at our 4 large centers. We are looking into bringing it to the smaller centers, but have to work with our vendor to ensure that we're doing it in a way that doesn't impede his process. And then your residential route tonnage, that's your curbside services. And then we have the overall. And you can see that residential route actually does receive a bit more tonnage than the convenience centers. I think maybe just the ease and the amount of people that have gotten curbside services. There was a large uptick in residential units getting into contract with curbside haulers when the decal program was initiated. And that's definitely something we'd like to see more municipalities engage in. so we can decrease the use at the centers, especially in those high populated areas.
Do you believe, question, that for recycling, because many of the haulers don't segregate materials, so people who are interested in saving the environment by recycling plastics versus cans versus bottles versus newspaper waste go to the centers because it's a recycling effort, that the haulers just throw it all in the back of the...
I mean, I can only really speak for myself, and I'm passionate about recycling, and I recycle at home, and it's a single stream process that I have my curbside hauler pick up. So I don't use the centers for recycling just because we recycle so much. So I really can't speak on behalf of other people whether or not they choose to use a curbside service or the convenience centers, or maybe I don't understand your question, but I know
Well,
for me, I just use
I-
curbside services.
Where I live, we have an optional curbside service. I go to the convenience center because the curbside service does not segregate all those materials. They just put it in one big container and dump it in the back of the hauler truck. So,
Now, some of those, depending on who it is, like Waste Management, if it's Waste Management, they do have a MRF, so they do take all that material, Victoria, correct me if I'm wrong, they do take all their material, they dump it in a big open thing and they separate it.
So if
Depending on
it's,
who the hauler is.
yeah, depending on who the hauler, most likely people use the waste management site, and they do have, it was a MRF, but now it's more of a tipping floor and a transfer station for recyclable materials. So if you have a curbside hauler, they're most likely paying waste management to tip it at their facility, and then waste management then still combines all the materials. They don't separate anything in Beaufort, and they haul the single stream is what you're referring to. So we have source separated, which is what we do at the centers, which you're separating your source materials, and then you have your single stream recycling, which is what is picked up curbside. And so that single stream recycling most likely goes to waste management, and then waste management hauls a large semi to Charleston, where they have a really large MRF and are able to sort that material through their equipment.
so by using the convenience center versus curbside pickup, somewhere downstream, somebody's going
Yes, it's a
It's
material.
gonna get sorted.
Yes, it's a material
downstream.
recovery facility is what a MRF is.
Right.
And that is what will sort your materials. And the a MRF that Waste Management hauls the single stream materials to, because I believe City of Bluffton or Town of Bluffton has a single stream pickup through Waste Management. They haul it to a MRF, which is a really large facility, and it source separates it. So they have very high-tech equipment that allows it to separate it by that commodity. So you're separating it out, your plastics, your paper, your cardboard. And then even when we have source-separated material that we take to the MRF with I-2, that material is hand-sorted. So,
But the materials we're taking, Victoria, is more, it's, without the way if we take our centers, it's mostly separated already.
Yeah.
So they have less work to do when it gets.
Correct,
to-
when it gets to the MRF.
Yes.
yeah, it's able to be hand-sorted. So there's a lot of technology in these MRFs that separate it. If you look at large cities, the majority of people have single stream because
gets
it's more
separated at
convenient, and then it's separated at a MRF.
MRF somewhere
Correct,
else.
yeah. Nothing's ever going to be baled as one lump. Like, it has to be separated into the
In the
commodity.
old ways of just dumping it all into a landfill in the
Yeah.
old days.
Mhm. So as you can see, we're right on the money with being in fiscal year, quarter two of fiscal year 2025. We have expended 50% of our budget for recycling services. There were a couple of discrepancies when we were comparing with FY '24 to FY '25. We discontinued services with our last vendor and now have services with I2 as our vendor. And the way that things were calculated previously didn't encompass all of recycling costs. And so with this sheet, I've broken down what it actually costs to process the actual materials, right? So processing as in separating out by commodity and then baling that commodity and then actually hauling it. So you have different costs whenever you're speaking about recycling. So we've got that processing cost, and then we've got that hauling cost, and we're comparing it to the rebate that we are receiving from those materials. And then our net recycling cost is that last line in red. And when I created the port, we did not have the rebate for December, but I have since received that. In December, we received $8,819.29 from the selling of our commodities. And so that was a net cost for the month of December, $86,164. So it would change just a little bit of our total cost with all revenues. And then the other revenues that you see on the left side are from materials that we sell through our vendors. So we have Beaufort Metal and Hardyville Metal. It's one and the same company, but they do separate those materials out. So everything that is being received at Beaufort Metal, which is located off of Laurel Bay, is coming from our two big centers on the north side of the Broad River. So that's St. Helena and Shanklin. So that's all of like our bulky metals, what people like to refer to as white goods. That's our revenue that we are receiving from those two centers. And then Hardyville Metal is receiving our bulky goods from our two main centers that we recycle at on the south side of the Broad, which is Bluffton and Hilton Head. So that is the difference between those. And then Universal Environmental, they collect our used oil and recycle it, and we receive revenue from that. Sunoco, we used to receive more from them, but we have discontinued baling our own cardboard. So now they come and pick up loose paper, unbaled, and then also books that are recycled at the libraries that we pack and they come and ship. And then our DOR tire fund, DOR as in Department of Revenue, the tire fund that we receive is from taxes that are collected through the sale of tires. And so we receive this revenue from them to help kind of compensate for what our tire cost is. Currently, our purchase order to recycled tires is around $100,000 a year. So our DOR, our tire funds is a little bit less than what it's costing us, but I do know that the state is looking into those taxes to see what they can do to ensure that counties do have the funds to be able to continue that endeavor of recycling the tires.
So where it says $30,000 in September. on
Where
the
are we looking
DOR
at?
Tire fund,
Yes, so that was the Q1 refund that we received from Department of Revenue. So they're a little bit late in getting us our refund sometimes, but that would be our Q1. So we don't receive that monthly, we receive it quarterly.
gotcha. So are we saying that we do not now receive any rebates for cardboard recycling?
We do, we receive it through I-2. So whenever you're looking at the right side of it,
Okay?
through our I-2 recycling,
Where
all
is
of
that
our
at?
rebates, so the right side, if you look
Uh-huh.
on the second portion
Uh-huh.
of it, recycling costs versus revenue,
Mhm.
we go through I-2.
Oh,
So they
I2
charge
I'm
us,
sorry, I didn't see, I-2 was so small up there, I didn't see I-2.
yeah, they charge us the processing fee and the hauling cost. And then those are the rebates that we receive, and that's all commodities combined.
Gotcha.
I don't in this report have the rebate for each different commodity.
That's okay.
But he does segregate it out, it just is not on here listed as that, in that way. And it is based off of market prices for cardboard and all of our other commodities. And then our processing costs have different prices for each commodity. So we actually save a little bit of money having our source separated at the centers because a single stream would be a higher processing cost since it's more work.
Has there been a study on, or do you have the numbers? Is there a tipping point where if we closed all the centers and we went to countywide pickup, the cost to run the centers with employees, et cetera, benefits, right, and land, versus universal curbside pickup in the county, which was looked at several years ago, voted down by the council, but is that a snapshot you look at every year?
No, based off of our rural areas and our council members in that district, I don't believe it's something that they are wanting to see. We have looked into closing some of our convenience centers, but first and foremost, we want the recycling and waste management to not only be affordable, but also convenient for individuals. And a large recycling truck or a waste truck would not be able to make it down some of our more rural and dirt roads. I know Mr. Harriet can probably quote how many roads we do have in Beaufort County that are dirt or gravel, that those trucks would not be able to go down. Not to mention private residents who maybe just don't want a commercial truck down there. But I do know that it's been looked at in the past, and we've had our consultant review it before. But as far as discontinuing all of the convenience centers, I don't think that that is a likely option.
Yeah, we have too much rural areas. I think in your municipalities, absolutely, it's doable. But I think in the rural parts of the county, which we have a lot, which includes Defusky, if you think about it, parts of Defusky are really rural. And, we have a convenience center over there. We have one, a couple in St. Helena, a couple out in Dale, biggest areas. So
I'm not advocating that.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm just saying I think the cost for that probably would be way more than what it would cost to run our convenience centers. And I think, just be off the top of my head, I think in order to have, if you just went to countywide curbside, that cost would probably be, I don't know what it would be, but it'd be very expensive. Because the cost to run our centers is, we're gonna end up paying the tipping fee regardless of where it is. We're still gonna incur that dump at the, we're gonna incur that fee at the dump regardless of whether we pick it up at the convenience center or curbside. We're still gonna incur that cost. And I think we get a better me personally, I think we get a better product at our convenience centers.
We do.
I don't disagree. I believe that our convenience centers, especially in the rural areas, prevent illegal dumping.
Absolutely.
I am fully.
Yeah, but I think the cost wise, Mr. Byron, I think cost wise, I don't know that it would, I think it would be, I don't think it'd be more expensive, probably. That's just.
Yeah, and many of our attendants, most of our attendants at the convenience centers are part-time employees. So we're not paying a lot of those employee benefits because of that. So
Okay.
many of our attendants or retirees don't want to work more than 20 hours. So I don't foresee that. And then also that's around 40 individuals who are employed at the convenience centers. So when making that decision, you would also take into account the many jobs that you would be discontinuing for the convenience center attendants.
Understand, again, I'm just looking for the numbers, because I've got constituents who say, why don't we close them? And I say, my concern is rural dumping that we had lots of in the past, and the convenience centers, I believe, is a great deterrent for illegal dumping.
We definitely love to see municipalities. City of Beaufort's really great. They have that curbside service for residents of Beaufort, and that's where I reside, is City of Beaufort. So it's definitely something that I commend Port Royal, City of Beaufort, Town of Bluffton. We've just got one more municipality who we would really like to encourage to get curbside services. It definitely helps and assists and alleviates a lot of the pressure from the centers. And one of the busiest centers, I know we've attempted to do curbside services in the past, and there's a bit of an issue with the backdoor service needing. It's something that we should definitely look into. We have looked into, but the feasibility of it for each center, because each location is different. They have their unique needs. So it's something we have looked into. I'm not sure what data you're wanting to do, compare closing all the centers, what the centers cost to run, and then what that contract would be, a cost comparison.
Just something to think about in the future, because it has been brought up in the past. There was a member of this board who was very keen on closing convenience centers, so I think that it behooves your department to make sure that you have the necessary information if it comes up again.
Of course, we keep data on everything that you can think of. So if that data were needed, we would be able to pull it. And even your largest centers or even your largest cities are going to have some area for residents to be able to drop off materials. I've lived in much larger cities where we do have curbside service throughout the county, and that's contracted. And I know people don't really like that sometimes because you do kick out your smaller businesses. We have several haulers in Beaufort County who do offer curbside services for residents, and getting that under a contract would mean another business maybe going under, a local small business who issue that. So you have to kind of consider that as well. But back to my point is, even in a large city such as Las Vegas, who has millions of people living and residing in that city and have curbside services, you are still going to need a drop-off point just for residential ease and access, because that's where you do get the illegal dumping. If it's not easy enough for residents to take their materials to a location, what are they going to do with it? So even if we were to discontinue some of the centers, we would still need some centers to remain open just for that ease and access. I mean, I know myself, I have curbside services and I still use the centers to discard larger materials.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any more questions with our recycling and revenue? All right, so it is budget season, and this is our current draft of what we would like to request from County Council for the Solid Waste and Recycling Department. The top portions, HR does all of those, so our salaries, wages, all the way to the employer liability. But some of the other items that we have are all listed out based off the account. Whenever we've created this budget, we take into consideration where we are currently, what we still have planned for the remaining of this fiscal year, and then also new endeavors that we would like to approach based off of our vision, mission, and goals for the department. We also include a 10% CPI increase just to ensure if any of our vendors come through and say that they do need to increase that, that's what we like to call our cushion, or a little bit of wiggle room to account for any discrepancies that might come along. Some you can plan all you want, but at the end of the day, there's most likely going to be something that you didn't account for, so we do like to add that bit of a cushion. So regardless of where we are, what we've asked for, we do increase each line item just to account for that.
Vehicle purchase, that line,
Yes, vehicle purchases, that is us equipping not only vehicles, so whenever our solid waste vehicles are approaching, most all of them were approaching and are approaching their lifetime span of it. So something that's ran every day, typically you replace that asset more often than you would replace your personal vehicle. So many of these vehicles are close to 10 to 15 years old and require repairs often. So we are working to replace our solid waste and recycling vehicles, and then also coupled within this line item our capital equipment purchases. So you're not looking at 800,000 of just vehicles. This is a skid steer, backhoe, Packer truck, and one other truck. Do you remember, Mr. Harriet? A Packer truck and
I
tire
saw a
truck.
big backhoe in Lufton the other day.
Mm-hmm.
I wish it was, they were filling in some of the potholes with it. but-
Yeah, I'm not sure which department that belonged to, if it were solid waste. Public Works is a really large department, so the backhoe could be solid waste, Public Works, road and drainage, stormwater. But each asset is
It wasn't
typically assigned
stormwater.
to a
I
department.
can tell you it wasn't stormwater.
Yeah. Well, typically they just have a Beaufort County logo on the side, but depending on what that is. But where was it that you were needing holes filled?
I'm sorry?
Where was it you were saying that holes need to be filled?
In the Bluffton.
Okay, well, that's a roads and drainage concern, so if you do have anything that, oh, at the convenience center?
Inside the convenience.
Oh, inside the
center.
convenience center.
Needs to be regraded
Yeah.
in spots.
Yeah, we're-
We've actually got that in our budget this year to redo some of the pavement, some of the
Yep, we are currently evaluating our quotes that we've just received from paving companies. So we have it in our capital projects this year to resurface some of those centers. So it is something that we're aware of and working towards diligently. Any other questions for that? Okay. So our litter supervisor is not here today to give an updated report, just because everybody's schedules were kind of rearranged. In the packet, he did include some information. Every year, he has to report to Palmetto Pride, who oversees the Adopt a Highway program, and this is a state agency who assists us in getting individuals the materials that they need to collect roadside litter and trash. And so that is his report that he's sending to them for the calendar year of 2024. And then here are some statistics that he acquired through the data that he receives from the Adopt a Highway groups. And he is currently in the process of planning the annual Adopt a Highway training and award ceremony.
It is already planned, the announcement is out.
The announcement's out. He's
received it.
still planning. We're still planning.
I received it.
Yeah, you received a save the date and a registration, but we are still in the process of making sure that we are tying up all loose ends for that event. And Valentina is unable to be here today because she is out doing the most in our community. She's actually at a school right now giving a vermicomposting presentation where she's teaching children the benefits of composting and then also providing them with a vermicomposting bin and worms to assist in their food waste diversion via composting. She is also in the midst of planning our annual Earth Day event. And she also has an ongoing series at the county libraries for both both stormwater and solid waste departments. The topics of conversation in January were Stormwater 101. She received a great turnout at both libraries. In February, she'll be talking to residents about composting, and then in March, she'll be talking to residents about Recycling 101. So we're really excited for that, and I believe we sent you guys her flyer if you want any more information about that. Our business manager has moved on to another position within Public Works. We'll be getting our business manager on board shortly, having a couple of changes internally. But basically, this is where we were at the end of Q2. A lot of these figures were also reflected in the Q2 report, those long spreadsheets. But this is a snapshot. A couple of the percentages have increased a little bit, as you saw in the other report. Disposal is a little bit more than that 48% now. But right on track to where we would anticipate we would be at the end of Q2 currently. And another thing Valentina is working on is MRF tours at the I-2 Recycling Center. This is a tentative date. I'm not sure. It may change because it's the same date that Jesus is planning for our Palmetto Pride, Palmetto Pride Adopt a Highway luncheon. But there will be sessions to be able to tour the center. And if she hasn't already sent the email out, that will be forthcoming. But it's an opportunity for you to see where the recycling goes from Beaufort County Convenience Centers and how that process works. Any public comment?
Before you go to public comment and new business,
I do not have new business.
I do.
Okay.
I would like for the record that our new liaison, Mr. Bartholomew, be presented with the status of all open positions on this board, so he can bring it to the entire council, so they have an idea of what we're missing. And then maybe that will light a fire to them to go out and solicit people for this board so the board can meet with a quorum and conduct business.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I know boards and commission is aware of the status of the
Well,
board and,
Mrs. Brock, I understand, runs that
yes,
part of it, but council persons have an obligation because they have representatives, although the representative does not have to live in that particular jurisdiction, but usually they do, and the council people that I know are active enough within their jurisdictions to find people, and they may not be aware of the openings that exist.
yeah. I did actually have a list, for the council districts we have seats open in. So currently in District 8, we have a vacancy. And unless things have changed, my notes are a bit dated when I wrote all this down, but that is, was currently Paula Brown. And then in District 6, Port Royal, would be Tabernick. And then District 5 in the Sheldon area, Mr. Passament.
Well, I think, I said, and I must have misspoke, I am Paul Brown's representative in District 8, but Stormwater District 9, we have different districts.
Yeah, and there are
between
different
us.
districts for solid waste as well, though.
So
So the solid
sure-
waste-
I'm not sure which one I am, 8 or
Yeah.
9, but I
Well-
represent Paul
Well,
Brown.
the solid waste districts are different from county council districts.
Right.
So, it's a bit confusing when you look at that. I kind of have to cross-reference the different maps for that. So what you represent and then what the solid waste district is, it's just a bit different. Not sure why there are different districts for the two,
Could not tell you
but we
that.
do.
Stormwater is the same thing.
Yeah, it's a little confusing. But yeah, we're unable to speak out to county council members outside of meetings. So that's definitely something that you all can do as
If you would
members
s-
of the board.
if
And
you
then
would-
we also reiterate it to boards and commission. They're well aware of our open positions, and we will definitely reiterate that message to boards and commissions to relay the message to county council
Would you,
members.
since you are not allowed.
Yeah,
since the-
well, there's good reason for it.
I understand.
Chain of command and protocols.
I understand
And
Mr. Moore
like to
is-
follow the rules.
believes chain of command.
Yeah,
Um,
very important.
I outrank him, but that's okay.
No, don't call us now. You'll get us all in trouble. Oh, are you outranking? Were you military member
Yes,
as well?
I'm
Oh, okay.
retired '06.
Okay,
I'm
oh.
sure I'm much older than him, so I have time and grade.
Yeah, but he's got the position now. So he outranks you in his current position, right? That's how it works.
No, I'm a volunteer. He's a paid. But if you could send me those openings by district
Of course.
and associated council person, I will try to reach out to those council people.
Yeah, we would appreciate it. We definitely want to see this board get revived after the
Yeah,
hiatus that we've
It needs to
taken.
be active.
Absolutely, I agree. Alrighty. I had a bunch of notes to speak to you about, but I want to say that I've already spoken about all of it. But if there are any questions lingering, be more than happy to answer them.
Before we thank Ms. Sally for putting the presentation together.
Yeah, thank you so much for Miss Sally. Before
Thank
she was with us, I was definitely a lost little duck in the pond. So it's very nice for her to coordinate everything. Thank you so much for getting the meeting scheduled this week. So we're not, next time we meet, 4 months behind. But the next time we do meet, we'll be in March. And then hopefully by then we'll have some new members and beef up this board a bit. All right, we can't officially adjourn, but we have officially
But
met.
we're adjourned.
Yeah. Well, thank you all so much. I hope you had a wonderful snow day. I know I did. Busted a few pool floaties.
Well, the people who are doing screening and framing have lots of work.
What? Oh,
Screening
yes,
and
I
framing.